So a Clemson player nearly killed a Duke player on Thursday night. Duke won the game 82-64 at Little John Coliseum, but the story was the David Collins, Wendell Moore incident. David, I know you saw it. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah.
All right. So nobody's buying the Collins apology. Nobody's buying it. I want to play the role of his defense attorney here for a second and explain how maybe if you look at it with the right camera angle and put yourself in his shoes, like maybe you can start to understand how that happened. And the outcome of the play is indefensible. The correct call was made. He deserved to be ejected for what happened, and nobody will ever know his true motive. But I know he's apologized. I know he tried to defuse the situation in the moment, and I know he's still getting a lot of crap, from really everybody on social media. But he issued an apology last night. So I'm going to read this real quick, okay? He says, "I was going to try to block it from behind, but I was going too fast, and I couldn't stop. I realized I needed to stop when it was too late. I've never been a dirty player, never will. I wish bro a healthy season, and I never tried to hurt anybody, but I know everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I have respect towards Duke and Clemson, and I apologize to everybody for a reckless play." And then I think he said, "I'm glad he was okay."
Yep.
So it seems genuine enough, whether you buy it or not. I think if you look at it from like that vertical over the top angle instead of the side angle, you can kind of see how Wendell Moore veered back towards the center of the lane to complete the dunk. And I think kind of interrupted that, Collins was maybe going to go in for that last second swipe as Moore was gathering to rise and dunk. But then Moore just like careens towards the center of the lane. And so maybe, David Collins and that path he thought he was going to have to run underneath him is suddenly erased. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading way too much into this. I just wanted to throw that out there as a potential defense for David Collins.
Well, it's interesting because I was flying last night back from New York, and I caught all of this on social media. And I have, even at this moment, I had seen his apology. I've got it in my notes here. I had not seen the reaction to his apology. I had no idea what the reaction to his apology was. So you're telling me people weren't buying it, that people were still killing him. Yes. What's interesting is that I'm on the same page with you here. When I read the apology, I immediately went back and watched the play from multiple angles. And that's what it looked like to me. It looked like he was running very fast and he didn't stop. Now, it was a dangerous play. I think David called it a reckless play. He deserved to be ejected from the game. But I don't think it was a dirty play. I think it was a dangerous play and a reckless play. When I first saw it, I was like, yo, man, because it seemed like you got stripped. Now you're frustrated. Dirty play. That's what it looked like to me at first. But then when I read his explanation and then went back and watched it, I was like, that's kind of that's what it looks like. It looks like he was, because if you look, he didn't shove him. We've seen those before, like, reach out, shove, that's dirty and dangerous, dirty and reckless. He did not push him.
He really just sort of ran. Jump.
Yeah. He just sort of ran through him.
Right.
It was almost like if you could think Wendell Moore's going up for a dunk and David Collins ran through him like he's a finish line of a race. That's almost what it looked like. But he didn't push him with his arms or grab him. He sort of ran. He looked like somebody who couldn't stop running.
It was too clumsy to be overtly malicious.
I'm with you. So as you tell me, people aren't buying it. I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I buy it completely. Like that is what it looked like to me. And last night when I saw it initially, before the explanation / apology, I was like, ejected and probably needs to be suspended. And now I'm like, ejected, sure, but apologized to Wendell on social media, provided an explanation for what happened. There's no history of this stuff with him, far as I know, and also went over and apologized to Mike Krzyzewski, and like gave him a hug. Said, I'm sorry, that's on me.
Can we just stop for a second? Would in any other circumstance, would any other opposing coach have received an on-court apology from the offending player other
I
than
know.
Coach K?
I did think it was unique for sure. But like, he's Coach K. I don't know if you heard, it's his final season, last trip to Little John. So maybe it was appropriate. Either way, I guess before the apology and before I saw it from a different perspective, I was like, probably needs to be suspended. Now, if you put me in charge, he'd be eligible to play the next game. Like, it happened. It should be over.
Another hypothetical for you. Let's say this had transpired with Grayson Allen as the offending player. How many pieces of content would we have up on CBS Sports right now about the play?
A lot. That year, Grayson Allen content was like among the most clicked on content for college basketball. Like the best thing you could do is put Grayson Allen's name in a headline. But and I do think this is important to note. If Grayson Allen does that last night to a player, I'm not buying it. I'm saying, okay, you didn't shove him, but you ran through him. You got a history of stuff like this. That's not cool. I do think your past provides context for how we should perceive something. And David Collins, again, to my knowledge, has no history of this. I've never heard or read David Collins is a dirty player. And so given that, honestly, I haven't heard much about David Collins or read much about David Collins, anything. He could be the most amazing young man in the world or the opposite. I don't have any idea. I'm just saying that doesn't appear to be a narrative connected to him in any way whatsoever. And so I'll take him at his word because, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt given the way that he handled the situation, and B, his explanation actually makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also fathomable that it was even if there was ill intent, the immediate remorse I think also counts for something.
Sure.
And I'm glad that he was immediately remorseful, because I think the reaction that we're seeing and the distrust of his apology and all that is purely a reaction to the magnitude of that fall from Wendell Moore Jr. My gosh.
It looked bad, and it could have ended badly. Like it's fortunate that Wendell was not seriously injured, because he could have been. But that's where I think you got to be careful with the wording. Was it a reckless play? Yes. Was it a dangerous play? Yes. Was it a dirty play? I'm not going to argue about it with people for hours, but it didn't. After I read his apology and watched it to look for what he said, it looked like what he said. And so I don't know how. As of this moment, the ACC hasn't announced anything. Clemson hasn't announced anything. I don't know how it will ultimately be handled. But if I were in charge of handling it, I'd say it happened. Everybody's okay. I think that matters too. Everybody's okay.
Does, yeah.
Everybody's okay. He apologized. The apology makes sense. He doesn't have a history of a dirty player. Let's let it end right here. Hopefully
If Wendell Moore had to miss 2 games because of this, I could see, maybe it being appropriate for Brownell to, sit Collins for the however many games that Wendell Moore had to miss due to a lower back contusion or something. But, like you said, thankfully that's not what we're dealing with here. The fact that he was able to bounce back and resume playing in that game after a fall like that was a testament to the human body for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see where that story goes. But from my perspective, the story shouldn't go anywhere from here.